Hey, what's going on? Welcome to the Doug Show. My name's Doug Cunnington, and in this episode, we're getting an update, the April update from Arielle. So, Arielle, how's it going today?
All good today. Thanks, Doug. How are you?
I'm doing pretty well. And last time, you had some drama going on. I think you hurt your finger and you weren't able to type well. How's it healing up?
Yeah, it's healing. I can use it now. Doesn't look the best, but it works.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad to hear it's getting better, and then you're just generally busy to like in general. So
Yeah.
we're going to go through a pretty quick update, and if people are brand new to this case study, we started working together. I think it was like late January or February. We've been tracking along each month. There are blog posts associated with each month, except for the last one you couldn't type, so you weren't able to write it, but you made up for it with a very thorough, longer update for April, and people could check that out to see some of the stats that we're going to be talking about. And a little more context is we started working on one particular site together, and then it became pretty apparent that another one of your sites in the portfolio was performing really well. And maybe we should shift our focus because the ads for a particular site, which we'll label them in just a second, the ads were paying much lower. The earnings per 1,000 visitors, the EPMV, was pretty low for this one site. So we're like, we'll shift focus. So we're going to talk about both of the sites sort of in parallel so people can get a snapshot of what we're looking at. So, with that said, site number 2 is the new focus, and
Yeah.
site number 7 was the initial focus. And we're still tracking along because the trajectory is a little bit interesting. Now, with that said,
Yeah.
can you give us the traffic and earning stats for site number 2, the new focus?
Okay. So site number two, the earnings were $650 in total, and the traffic was 21,500.
Perfect. And how does that compare to the previous month,
The
roughly?
previous month, it's gone up by around. We didn't discuss this. It's
Yeah.
gone up. Yeah, it's gone up quite a bit, but I don't have the exact. I don't have the exact number, but it's gone up, but maybe by 50%.
Okay.
Maybe by
Ballpark.
50%.
It's
Yeah.
up. It's up. It's
Yeah.
growing.
Yeah.
Okay. Perfect. And then for site number 7, the one that we were focusing on initially, where's that at? Earnings and traffic.
Site seven has earned $260, and the traffic was 12,000, around 12,000 visitors.
Okay. And like I said, people can check out some of the more detailed stats. There are Google Analytics graphs and other information on the blog post, and you can see both sites are growing pretty well, just in general. So, with that said, any surprises over the past month with traffic or earnings or anything like that? You've been publishing a decent amount, right?
Yeah, so I've not been publishing on site seven, of course. I've just shifted all my focus to site two, and I've added 70 articles in the past over a month now since the last update. And but what's interesting on site seven is that half of the earnings are from Amazon. So because the EPMV is so low on that site, Amazon is taking over, and that wasn't the initial plan because it doesn't have that many products. But I also had my first sale with the affiliate program on that site as well. So I was a bit skeptical because I didn't think it was working. I thought, okay, I'm promoting this affiliate and I'm promoting it a lot, and I'm not getting any sales. But they do have a decent commission, and yeah, and I made my first sale, so that feels good.
Is it a physical or digital product?
Digital, digital.
Okay. And then can you share what the commission rate is?
It's 20% or 25%, and the cost is around $400 to $500 of the service. So
Oh, nice.
yeah, yeah.
Pretty, yeah, that's a great payout. And do you know if it was just a numbers game and eventually you made the sale because enough people saw the offer, or Is there anything that
That's
helped sell it?
No, I've done it as a numbers game. So I've literally, that's why I felt like maybe I need to pull back a bit because I've promoted it so much. They probably just think it's spam. But because of the nature of the site, people are just coming on that one post and going. So they probably wouldn't see it on, every page. But yeah, so numbers game. So hopefully as the numbers go up, and I can get some more of those kind of sales.
Got it. All right, very cool. And a couple other things that we won't mention here because it's not fun to read out a chart for a podcast, but you do break down where the visitors are coming from, so the geographies and stuff like that, if people want to dig in to a little bit more of the details there.
Yeah.
So let's talk about the work that you've done. So you mentioned publishing like 70 articles. How'd that go? I know you have some writers working for you. What's it been like working with the writers?
Yeah, so I didn't transfer all my writers over, but I've got two or three that actually have an interest in the niche. So that's really helped because they are, they know what they're talking about. I give them the outline, they do the research, and they've also got, some knowledge of the industry that I don't have to, go in and edit it too much. So as I've said before, I was the bottleneck with putting articles up, and my virtual assistant now just grabs the articles from the spreadsheet and puts them up, formats them, and then I can go through and add any FAQs and stuff like that. So I'm quite pleased with the quality of the articles, and I'm doing them a lot quicker. So yeah, overall it's going really well, and I'm trying to add as much as I can.
And just curious, do you monitor how quickly the new articles are indexed in the search console and Google database in general, or do you just publish and just kind of keep keep publishing and don't pay attention?
Yeah, no, I just keep publishing. I've got my, what are they called, SOPs. So when I'm putting an article up, I go and I'll interlink it heavily. I'll make sure the VA puts in all the images and just does all the basic things, and then I just kind of leave it because I know the site is already, well indexed. Google likes it. Google seems to like it, so it doesn't take too long for them to be picked up, which is good.
Okay. And then do you monitor very closely to see if those new articles are getting traffic already?
Yeah, I've been going into Ezoic, the big data analytics, and looking at how well they're doing. And I have started seeing some of the newer articles coming at the top of the views and stuff for the month. So they are going up. They are being indexed and they are showing up and getting the traffic. Because I did say before, when I put the initial 70 articles up, I didn't know much about SEO and keyword research and stuff. So the articles weren't at the quality that they are, the ones that I'm submitting now. So with those improvements that I've gone back and done, more interlinking, and then the new articles that I'm adding now, they're just better quality. So I'm probably targeting more additional keywords in them than I would have been. So yeah, it's doing well. Because I thought the niche was more competitive than it actually is. So it is, but it's still quite easy to rank.
And I guess why did you think it was more competitive? What gave you the feeling?
My lack of knowledge with keyword research. So I wasn't initially. I said to you there weren't that many keywords, and that's why I left it because I realized there weren't that many products, and I thought I had exhausted all of the topics and keywords with 70 posts, which is quite funny now that I think about it. But yeah, that's probably why I just didn't know what to look for.
Okay. And I'm just curious if you get much traffic from Google Discover. Do you ever see
I've
that
not checked.
on the search console?
I've seen the tab, but I've not gone in there.
Okay, well, maybe when we
Check it
finish
out.
up here, pop over, have a look, and let me know. I was just
Yeah.
chatting with Olga, the SEO, SEO Sly. Do you know her?
Yeah. Yeah.
So I was just chatting with her, and she was saying like almost all her traffic comes from Google Discover. And it was like,
Okay.
she's publishing frequently, kind of like what you're doing now. And she said that she was showing up on people's feeds and Google
Okay.
Discover, getting a ton of traffic that way. And I think that niche for site two maybe actually fits into that,
Okay.
where, if you're publishing frequently, that would be a source of traffic.
Is that
Um,
new, Google Discover? Because I've seen the tab, but
yeah, it's new-ish, but I mean, I want to say like it's been around for a few years.
oh, okay.
So, okay. And it's like, for people that don't know, it's basically like the Google app. So if you have an iPhone or a non-Android phone, you maybe would have to install the Google app, and then it shows you like a feed of blog articles. And then if you have an Android device, I think if you just swipe in one direction, it shows you the Google Discover stuff. So it's kind of like a social media feed, sort of.
Okay.
And for sites that publish frequently, you may show up on that feed, and then you get a lot of traffic because of it.
Okay. I'll
So,
check it out.
with that said, we could transition over to your virtual assistant. So, you mentioned that offhand, and I think that's something we talked about before, someone to help out as far as like, well, just everything, right? A
Yeah,
VA
yeah,
can do
she
many
does
things.
everything.
So,
Yeah.
how's it going with the VA?
She's wonderful. I had a bad experience the first time, and I mentioned that she started getting a bit lazy and just wasn't doing anything some days. So with that information, I decided to go and kind of I didn't do a contract before, so I done a contract of sorts and just ironed out the things that I expected and missions and just little things like that. And she's been we just talk on WhatsApp and I use Plutio as well, which is like a project management, one of those ClickUp type things. And I just put the tasks up and I do a video, a screen of exactly what it is, myself going through it, and it transcribes it for me and I send it to her. She picks it up. She can go through it as many times as she likes. And she just gets it. She gets what's required. She's got a design background. She's like a magic. I don't know, but she's so good, and I know that I want to hire more virtual assistants because the way that I'm doing it now, with just having a few writers, I could then get somebody else to do just kind of handle the writers, and then then she can do something else, and I think it's just easier to scale up with more virtual assistants than more writers because it's quite hard to manage 7, 8, 9, 10 writers on a daily basis. But if you train the virtual assistant to do that, then you just have to manage the virtual assistant, and then so yeah.
Yep. And what issues did you run into with the first VA?
So not doing a lot in the time. So they'll track their time on Plutio, on whichever software, and then there's not much getting done in that time. So 3, 5 hours will pass, and I didn't really have a system to check what was being done. So she just kind of had to say, okay, I've done five. I've formatted 5 posts, and I've edited. I've done the featured images. There was no real system, so with this time around, I've got her to go through it and kind of work out her how quick it takes her to do certain tasks, and then she can set her own targets and realistic expectations. And she's been doing really well with that. She likes to learn. I want to teach her all the different elements of the business so she can then go off and do things. And she's been doing really well with that. Just having the freedom to learn and do her own kind of things. So she's got freedom to explore different things that she wants to do. If it doesn't work out, I'll just say to her, okay, can we do it this way instead? And she's really receptive. So yeah,
Got it.
that's the main thing.
And yeah, I think you arrived at something, maybe the more painful way, but now you have a very good lesson that
Yeah,
you'll remember. So, when I hired a VA to do a similar set of tasks that you're talking about, I already knew like how long it took me to do the thing.
yeah,
And then I didn't assume that another person could do it as fast or as slowly as me. I'm not saying I'm fast at doing that,
yeah,
but basically, like you said, you let them tell you how long it took, and they should
Yeah.
get a little faster, after a
As
couple
time goes
weeks.
on. Yeah.
But at least then, like they latched on, like, to do one article takes me 1 hour, and
Yeah.
then the expectation is like it should take 1 hour or less to do
Yeah.
one
Yeah.
article. And I could see how it could get out of hand, especially if someone sees how much freedom they have and how much you're not watching, right? Because you want
If
to
yeah, yeah.
delegate it and then not have to worry about
Yeah.
it, so you don't want to babysit someone.
Yeah, exactly. You want to be able to trust them so you're not too overbearing, like do this, do that. But you also have to set some kind of standard because we all kind of work well with some sort of you know guidance. But another thing that's helped is not giving her too much in at one time. So she started with something very basic. As I said, I've got all my training videos in a folder now, and I didn't have that before. I was kind of learning as I went. So now it's like, okay, I need the VA to do this task for me. How do I get it to her and teach her how to do it in the best way possible so I get the result that I want? And then that just takes me, as you said before, writing it out, but really monitoring myself as I do it, recording it. And then with Descript, it's good because even if you make mistakes and you're talking through it, you can just cut it away, and then you're left with a clean transcription and an edited video. So that's been invaluable for me. Yeah.
And that's a tool, that's an app, Descript, and it basically does a transcription of either just audio or audio and video, and then you can edit the transcript instead of editing the video. So you could just go
Yeah.
through quickly. There's even a tool on there where you can, watch it at a
Take out the
faster speed, and then you can take
yeah
out filler
the
words.
ums
And
and
yeah,
yeah.
it's a very powerful tool. I think, you can go overboard with some of the editing, but
Yeah.
yeah, just from a like for what you're talking about, it could be
Basic.
perfect to speed up the
Yeah.
workflow.
Yeah, I use it quite in many different ways. It's got so many different tools, so I do use it with my sites. But yeah, that's a conversation for another day, I guess.
Yeah. All right. So you also talked about having writers that are interested in the topic area. What insights do you have for that to help other people out?
I guess it comes down to when you're hiring, when you're actually putting out the ad, because I find my writers on Upwork, and I do say what the niche is. So if they have a background in it, then that's better. They don't have to have knowledge of it, but when they do and they say, okay, I've been doing this for X amount of years, um, in this niche particularly, it is very helpful. So yeah, so hiring writers that actually have interest in the thing makes it a lot easier.
And I was chatting with Mark and Adam from Niche Website Builders the other day, and they were mentioned something to the effect of sometimes I got to be careful with how I state it, but basically, sometimes you might get content back from an agency and the writing is fantastic. And other times,
Yeah.
even in the same batch of content, you may find something that isn't good and something that's fantastic. And the thing is, it could be two different writers that do great or terrible, depending on the
Yeah.
topic. And might, a terrible writer for your topic might be able to do a great job somewhere else just
And
because it's
another.
something they're
Yeah.
interested in. Maybe they have a
Yeah.
little knowledge. So
That's kind of
makes,
why I stopped choosing, because I've got access to quite a few writers that I've hired over time for all the different niches. So I kind of know who's good for certain topics and tasks and who I wouldn't hire for this site.
yeah.
So I knew straight. I did give some others a chance to do some of those articles, and then I had to edit it and add quite a bit. So I just yeah,
Got
bit
it.
slower now with two, but it's better.
Right. So as we're moving along here, let's talk about improving old content. That was one of your big focus areas. So how's that going so far?
Yeah, so like I said before, I'll go back in and I use Rank Math and I use Content AI, which is a little addition that they've got. You pay for credits, and then I think you get like 50 credits, and that's a keyword. So whichever keyword you're trying to target, you put that in, and then it will bring up some information, I guess, from the SERPs. It will tell you these are some things you can include in the content in the headings, or you need more images. Just kind of what Surfer SEO does. So I've been adding those keywords into those some of those older posts, and starting with the lower performing ones in big data analytics or ezoic, and then also I went back into the best performing ones to see what keywords that I was showing up for on page two. And if they had a decent amount of search volume, then I'd go back in and I'd add either a H2 or H3, or put it within context, whatever made the most sense. And then I'd put another image, or the VA would put another image, and I'd tell her to um, set that alt text for that keyword, or another a secondary keyword, just to put it in a bit more. But yeah.
Okay, perfect. And I can't remember where I ran across it recently, but it's like fourth hand, right? Someone I saw said that Google said that
Yeah,
we should be spending like 50% of our time improving old content versus publishing new content, something like that. And I was
I've
like,
heard
that,
that as well.
yeah, that makes sense. I mean, especially
Yeah.
when you end up with a site that is a few years old, that has quite a lot of content, even if maybe nothing has really changed so much. There's not like new information about calculus, I don't think, for example. But maybe you still need to go back and refresh it and like
Yeah,
just
there's always
tighten it
an
up.
opportunity. Yeah, I've noticed that, because there's articles that when I put them up, I thought this is an amazing article. It's got everything. But when you go back in, there's always an opportunity, especially if you put it up, like you said, a year ago, 2 years ago. There might be another keyword that you overlooked, or just the FAQs is what people seem to be doing quite a bit, going back and adding. People also ask, or just something related to the niche. You can always add another heading, and another paragraph if it needs it, just to cover the topic in more depth. So
Sure.
I've enjoyed going back and editing, improving old articles.
And it's especially like if you've written the content or you're a little more connected to it, it's not, it's a pretty quick process to like go through versus like, okay, I have to write this thing from scratch and like get new,
Yeah,
or like do screenshots and like kind of imagine how this whole thing's going to work out. So if you
yeah.
just go through and you do a quick edit, it's much
I will
faster.
say, actually, for me, it's been quite different, because where I had hired quite a few random people in the beginning to help me with the first 70 articles. Some of those were not great, but it's been over a year, and they've ranked and they've been getting traffic. So when I've gone in to improve those articles and seen that this article is not that great, it was easier for me to fix
Oh,
it, because yeah. So if it's already doing good in the state that it's in, it doesn't take much for for me to go and edit it and make it better. So that's worked.
nice. Okay. Well, anything else in the what's working section that you want to highlight here?
No, copying successful articles. So I've like I said, I went through big data analytics, and I've tried to find more keywords related to those top 10 and top 20 articles. Yes, that's it really. Trying to find more similar, whether it's about a specific company, or um, what's it called? Just I don't know, just whatever it is to do with that topic. If I can find more keywords, and I'll go and I'll write articles, or try and find a keyword for an article, and then go back and interlink those to each other, and that's it really. Just trying to find more content that I can write that links easily, because interlinking, I think, is what got the site um, to where it is now, because that's something I was doing heavily in the beginning. So yeah.
Okay. Now, quick shift of gears over to what's not working. And I think this will be something that hits home with a lot of people, whether they're working on it now or they have in the past.
Yeah. So page speed optimization is not. it's not going so well for mobile. Desktop is fine, it's perfect, it's all green, but mobile is just really bad. And I said it on Twitter, and people gave me a bunch of things to try. But I might need to move servers. I might need to just move it over. I've taken off the Ezoic plugin because I put WP Rocket back on, and they clash, so I had to take it off. And I went back to my manual placeholders, which seems like they make more money than the. I'm gonna have to check that out, but it seems like I'm better off with my manual placeholders for that site. So taking the Ezo plugin off, and then yeah, putting WP Rocket, doing all that minifying stuff, and but maybe now I need to move server because it's not improved much after that.
Do you
And I
have
have compressed my images. I've not made them all WebP, but
okay,
is that what it's called?
I
But
think so.
yeah, yeah. So I've compressed my images. I do have re smush it, which just is a free tool to compress your images upon upload. Um, but yeah, that's all. That's what I've done, and it's not done much so far.
Do you have all your websites on one server,
No,
one host?
no. So this one is actually hosted on Ezoic's free hosting. I've got two sites on Ezoic's free hosting. The other site isn't having that issue, so I don't know if it is the hosting, because that site's mobile speed is fine, but the others are on different, so Cloudways and different, and they don't seem to have that issue either. So I don't know.
Okay. Hmm. Yeah, I don't know. You mentioned something about like, you know, plugins and all that stuff. And yeah, I mean, the process of optimization is kind of a pain and it takes a little while, but usually once you have it figured out, you're in good shape.
Yeah, I think I'm guilty of putting too many plugins on. So I have things that rely on plugins that I need to actually just go back and change them so I can delete those plugins. But I think that might be one of my biggest issues, because as time went on, I realized I didn't need this, and that, and just stopped putting on additional plugins and kept it simple.
Yeah. How many plugins do you have active, would you say, roughly?
I've just brought it down to under 20 now.
Okay.
Um, yeah, so it used to have, I think it had 26. Once upon a time, I had a site with about 40 odd plugins, and I didn't know that it was a problem.
Yeah. I did that. I did that early on. Well, you don't know. You just hear WordPress is great and you can get a plugin for anything and you don't
Everything, yeah.
realize that, the plugins have to run somewhere.
Yeah,
So, and then, well, I don't know much about the Ezoic hosting, but I know you'll check on that with Ezoic.
yeah,
Um, but often when I've heard of people, especially when their traffic is growing, sometimes you just have to like upgrade the hosting and get
yeah.
it, get some more memory, get some more processor cores, and then a lot of your
I think
problems
that's
go
it.
away. And
Yeah, I think that's it.
the hard part too, and even when I talked to some hosting companies, they were unable to give me like practical advice on this. But um, when you're here's what happened. My site was crashing and I was like, this is terrible. Like, I'm losing a lot of money when the site's down for multiple hours. And they were like, oh, we rebooted it. Everything's fine. And then it would be fine. And then I realized it was like the peak of traffic. So
Yeah,
it was all the traffic that was crashing the site. And most of the day it was fine. But for a
yeah.
few hours, when most people were on the site, that's when it would
Too
crash.
many people crashing the server. Yeah,
So you have to like have enough capacity for the peak, not the average.
yeah,
Um,
yeah,
and if you're just looking at like the monthly traffic, like that tells you something, but it doesn't tell you the peak traffic. If you happen to have a lot of
yeah.
traffic,
At the
two
same
times per
time, and
month. Yeah.
yeah, yeah, yeah. I think
Um,
that I think that is actually it, because I had a site like that was getting, it would get 40 visitors, and I had it on the basic with shared hosting. This was a while back on InMotion, and it just actually kept crashing and showing the users an error.
yep.
And then they told me I had to upgrade to cloud VPS, yeah, VPS server, and I've done that. and it was fine. So yeah,
Cool.
might be it's a good problem, I guess. My site is
Yeah.
starting to pick up, and I need better hosting. So
Yeah. Cool. Well, I think that covers most of the update. What questions, if you have any issues right now, any problems?
no issues, no problems. Did I say what I'm going to be doing? No, I just said that one of my so site two makes half of my ad earnings. And as you know, I've got quite a few sites. They're all coming up now, but it's interesting that site two is making the majority or a good proportion of the earnings, but it only gets a third of the visits. So I really just need to stick with site two and build that up as much as I can.
Just publish as much as you can. Yeah. And
Yeah.
it'll be cool to see, hopefully we could track this in analytics or big data analytics so we can see like how much traffic is going to the newest posts where you're
Yeah.
like, oh, you doubled the content and now like, you have all this extra traffic in X number of months.
Yeah.
So, all right, cool. Anything else on your mind?
No, that's it.
All right. Well, we'll check in with you next time for the update in June. And yeah, good catching up. So we'll talk to you soon.
All right.